Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, in this chapter, we'll learn the contracting parties. As we know, a contract cannot be executed without the contracting parties. So, contracting parties are the one they will conclude the contract through offer and acceptance. So, it is there are some characteristics or criteria for a person to be capable of concluding a contract. So the validity of a contract heavily depends on whether the person executing the contract has the eligibility to conclude the contract. So if we look at the eligibility of a contracting parties, okay, we call it legal capacity. Okay, the al-Ahliyyah. So the Sharia scholars, they have divided the legal capacity of a person, a person's eligibility to conclude a contract which has a consideration in the Sharia. So it can be divided first. Okay, but before we talk about the Ahliyyah, the scholars, they put two conditions for a person to execute a contract. The first condition is the person should have al-Ahliyyah, which is the legal capacity. He should have he should be of like a sound mind. He should reach to a certain age, etc. That we'll talk about. And then another important condition is the Wilayah, guardianship. The person should have the authority to conduct or to conduct action, okay, uh, for himself or on someone else. That is called al-Wilayah or guardianship. Okay, so however, our discussion will mostly focus on al-Ahliyyah, the legal capacity. So, what is this legal capacity is all about? This chapter sometimes is discussed in Usulul Fiqh or in Principle of Islamic Jurisprudence. However, we also in Fiqh Muamalat will discuss this because it is also related to al-Aqad contract, and also there are some principles or some issues related to legal capacity which are specially related to muamalat or financial dealings. Well, so the legal capacity is okay, is an Arabic word which means competence or capacity or eligibility. So technically, the eligibility of a person to establish right for an obligation upon himself. So this is a legal capacity from Sharia perspective. Okay, so it will. So what is the objective of this competency for what? For two things. One is the right. If the person wants to have a right to or have wealth, for example, and also obligation of prayer, for example, or obligation to pay zakah. So in order to have somebody to have right to receive some wealth or have the right to have the right to get to conclude a contract, for example, also and also the obligation if somebody needs to pray or not or pay or zakat. So in order for someone to have this right and also to have this application, they should pass some criteria. They should be eligible. So that is called al-Ahliyyah or legal capacity. Okay, so the legal capacity, the scholars, when they talk about it, they divide it into two. One is called Ahliyatul Wujub, is called translated as a receptive legal capacity. Another one is Ahliyatul Ada, active legal capacity. So what is the receptive legal capacity or Ahliyatul Wujub? So it refers to the capacity of a person to receive rights and obligation. Okay, and starts from the beginning of taking birth and ends on death. So this is ahliyatul wujub or receptive legal capacity is a capacity that most of us have. Okay, the criteria for this legal capacity is life, to survive. If somebody is alive, somebody is survived, so he has this kind of legal capacity, which is called receptive legal capacity. So yeah, and why this legal capacity is for to have some rights on wealth mostly. Okay, to have property, to receive wealth, to be the owner, to receive the inheritance, and also some financial, mostly some financial obligations. So this is called ahliyatul wujub, or this is a legal capacity that is based on life, whether a person is alive or not. Okay, and then this legal capacity can be divided into two. One is ahliyatul wujub al-Naqisah, the deficient receptive legal capacity. Another one is ahliyatul wujub al-Kamilah, complete receptive legal capacity. So what is the deficient receptive legal capacity? Is there anything in the middle between life and death? Yes. So the scholars, they give the example of fetus. Okay, fetus in the mother's womb. Okay, so if fetus in the mother's womb, there is a possibility that the fetus will, okay, will take birth. The mother will deliver the baby alive, so he will have a complete legal capacity. However, there is also possibility chance that the baby will yet to born. Okay, so this one is called a deficient receptive legal capacity. So what is the consequence of this? Okay, so if there is a wasiya will, if the grandfather, he makes a will for a child, okay, for a fetus, okay, and a grandfather, he sees that his daughter or daughter-in-law is pregnant, and then he makes an will. Okay, so is the will apply or not? Okay, so yes, the will apply, but after the baby takes birth. Okay, so this is the example of a deficient legal capacity, and the complete legal capacity is after after the baby is born, from life. Okay, from taking birth to death. Okay, the example of this is, let's say, zakat al-fitr. Okay, any baby born, okay, any baby born, okay, before the sunrise of the Eid. Okay, so it is a responsibility of the father, okay, or his her guardian, to pay the zakatul fitr on her. Okay, so that is the example of ahliyah al ujub. Somebody has a legal capacity uh, after a person, when he bonds, so immediately it is an obligation actually on her, but her parents or someone else, or as a guardian, needs to uh, pay the zakatul fitr on behalf of him or her. Okay, so ahliyatul ada, active legal capacity. So this one is different from the receptive legal capacity. So the receptive legal capacity was related to life, but ahliyatul ada, active legal capacity, is related to puberty, is whether a person is sane or not. It's about intellectual maturity. So somebody will have ahliyatul ada, okay, or active legal capacity, when he has been matured intellectually. Okay, it's a capacity of human being for the issuance of words and performance of deeds to which the lawgiver has certain legal effects. So this is a legal capacity where each of his actions will be considered in the Sharia. If he makes an offer, or if he makes an if he okay he if he makes a wedding contract. Okay, so all these will have a consideration. Okay, prayer and all kind of obligations will be imposed upon him. So this is the called ahliyatu al-ada. And so what is the criteria basis for this capacity? Is the maturity of intellect. When somebody is matured, okay, intellectually, then he will have this kind of legal capacity. So at that time, whatever he speaks, okay, whatever he actions he takes, he will be responsible, and it will be taken into consideration in the Sharia. Okay, so for example, in terms of worships, okay, so when somebody has this kind of legal capacity, he is responsible to perform prayer, fasting, okay, and for Hajj, and and punishment. If somebody has a is matured, okay, so if he commits any sin, for example, adultery, theft, so he should be punished for his action. Where if a child he commits, for example, if he steals something, he will not be punished for his action. Rather, he will be given ta'dib. Maybe he will be given a small punishment just to teach him. But if this action is if an adult steals something, then he will be punished by hudud, okay, which is chopping off his hand. Similarly, the transactions, any transaction, buying, selling, renting, okay, partnership, all these transactions will be valid if a person has this legal capacity. This person is able to sell his wealth. He can give as a gift whatever he wants. Okay. So this active legal capacity, also similar to the receptive legal capacity, can be divided into two. One is Ahliyatul Ada al-Naqisah and Ahliyatul Ada al-Kamilah. The full the Ahliyatul Ada al-Naqisah is a deficient, okay, active legal capacity, and Ahliyatul Ada al-Kamilah is complete active legal capacity. So what is this Naqisah? Well, okay, so the competency of a person to do certain dispositions with and subject to the authorization of another person. Okay, so here a person he has limited active legal capacity. So sometimes his action will be considered in the Sharia, sometimes not. So who is the example of this? The example of this, a minor who reaches the age of 7 until he reaches the age of puberty. Let's say some usually puberty is 15 or 13. So if a child of a boy whose age is 7 to 12 years old, usually he is called in Arabic sabi mumayyiz. Okay, he is a boy who possesses some kind of judgment. Okay, so he does not have the full legal capacity. Okay, you see, from Sharia perspective, it is not obligatory for him to pray, but at this period he is advised to pray. The parents should tell him to pray, okay, just for to learn. Similarly, in terms of financial obligations, so all of he actually cannot conduct buying and selling and other financial obligations. However, he has some kind of maturity that he can conduct, okay, some small buying and selling, and sometimes it is needed. Can you imagine if a small kids 7 years old, darajah standard 1 or 2 students, and he goes to school, he needs to buy food. Okay, so if we go back to the basic ruling of the Sharia, the person this small kid is not allowed to buy. Okay, his buying and selling is not considered. However, it is necessity, okay, because he needs to buy food in school. His parents cannot go to school every day with him and buy. So the scholars have given him a limited option, a limited space where he can exercise he can exercise his capacity where he is able to conduct some kind of transactions. Okay, so this is what the scholars have concluded. Okay, if a sabi, or if a child, or if a boy with some discretion, with some okay, so what are the Sharia? So this is actually from the Hanafi scholars, and majority of the scholars have approved it. Okay, so according to the Hanafi scholars, okay, they said, okay, as a boy, okay, okay, who is 7 years old, his action, financial activities can be divided into three. Okay, first, disposition, which are purely for one's benefit. For example, receiving gifts. So any kind of gifts, if he receive, it is allowed because it is for benefit. So it is allowed. And disposition, which are purely detrimental to him. So any financial dealings which is negative for him, like he gives a gift, if he gives a gift to somebody else, so it is not permitted because it is harmful for him. So this one, if he gives a gift, then his parents can go and take back the gift. And then dispositions which may either beneficial or detrimental. So there are some financial dealings, a transaction which is between negative and positive, means it can be either positive or negative. For example, buying and selling. Okay, so this one subject to the ratification by the guardian, means if this boy he buys something and then the parents know and then they allow it, then it is okay. If the parents do not allow it, then it is bad. Means that if the small kid goes to school and he buys food and he buys this and that, when he comes back, he tells his parent, okay, I bought this and this, and the parents say, okay, uh, okay, no problem. Then the contract is executed. However, if the parents say that, okay, this we do not accept this transaction, and if they invalidate the contract, they are allowed to do so. This is to take care of the welfare of the boy. So this is actually proposed by this is actually these principles, okay, are prescribed by the Hanafi scholars, but the majority of the scholars and the contemporary scholars have accepted it because they see the welfare of the kid and also because of the need. If we do not allow the kids to do certain transactions, so it will be quite difficult for for parents. They need to go and check everything. Okay, so this is sabi al-mumayyiz. So now uh, after the deficient legal capacity, we talk about the active legal capacity, which is a complete legal capacity. Okay, so where a person, it is a competency of person to do whatever acts and dispositions he likes without any need to get permission from other. So here is complete legal capacity where the person has, okay, full capacity. He has the ability to do any action and to do any kind of transaction. And then what is, okay, the person who reaches the age of puberty, bulugh, or the person who becomes baligh or matured, and also he has prudent or rushd. Okay, rushd is some kind of intellectual maturity in terms of financial dealings. Okay, we'll know this when we discuss about safah, safih. Okay, the opposite of rushd is safah. Okay, is somebody is not prudent enough to do financial transactions. So if somebody reaches the age of puberty, okay, somebody becomes matured, and he also matured intellectually. He means he is prudent to do to conduct his financial affairs. Then the person, we can say that he has ahliyatul ada al-Kamilah, or he has complete legal active legal capacity. So how to know that somebody has this legal capacity? Okay, so it's known first through puberty, okay, which is if according to the Sharia, for boys, if they have nocturnal emissions at night, or for girls if they have a menstrual period. So at that point, we can say that this boy or girl reached puberty, or 15 years. Okay, majority of the scholars said if a boy or girl didn't reach puberty, like through the nocturnal emissions and or through we can say height or a menstrual period, then 15 years will be the maximum or the age of majority. So majority of the scholars said if someone reaches 15 years old, he will be considered as matured. However, the Hanafi scholars, they said 18 years for the age of majority for male and 17 for female. So if a girl reaches 17 years old, then she'll be considered as matured, and 18 years for a boy. And then the Malaysian law actually they taken, even though they follow Shafi'i, but here they taken it has taken the Hanafi scholars' opinion partially. So and basically is the Western law as well is 18 years. Okay, according to the law of Malaysia, Age of Majority Act 1971, the 18 years is the age of majority. Majority means if somebody reaches 18 years, so he's considered matured, and all of his actions will be considered. He's free to conduct any financial dealings, and he also will be responsible if he violates any law. So just to recap, to make things easy for you, so the legal capacity can be divided into two. One is active legal capacity. The basis of it is the akal, the intellect. Okay, and another one is receptive legal capacity. The basis for is that life. If somebody has a life, he has this capacity. Okay, and then that also can be divided into two. The receptive, which is complete, and deficient. Okay, the example of deficient is fetus. Okay, and then active legal capacity can be divided into two: deficient and complete. And the example of deficient is a minor possess some discretion, which is called sabi mumayyiz, a kid with age between 7 to, let's say, 12 or 13 years old. Okay, so now in this part, we'll discuss some of the impediment or barrier or some of the elements, okay, situation, okay, or that, okay, that is a barrier to this legal capacity, or that damages the legal capacity of a person. So if somebody has active legal capacity. However, if this situation arises, so it will hinder, or it will limit the legal capacity of the person. So these are the things. One is insanity, partial insanity, forgetfulness, weakness of intellect, which is called Safah. Okay, death, illness, intoxication, bankruptcy, and coercion. Okay, so let us see insanity, which is called Junun, or we can say gila, orang gila in Malay. So it is a mental derangement. A person does not know what he says and what he does. And there are two types of it. One is the regular, one is casual. So the regular and permanent, okay, the person whose action is always cannot be considered. Okay, and so, and some who has casual means sometimes he becomes insane. However, both of the types eliminate a legal capacity as a minor without discretion, and so a insane person will be put under a guardian. So so there is no religious responsibility on him, means he's not it's not an obligation on him to perform prayer, and any financial dealings he conducts will not be considered. So he will be put under a guardian, and his guardian will execute the contract on his behalf. Okay, so this is the hadith that's actually is the basis for this. The pen is lifted. Pen means responsibility. Is lifted from three persons: from a sleeping person until he wakes up, from an insane till he recovers, and from a minor until he reaches age of puberty. So if a person is sleeping, so until he wakes up, there is no sin for him if he does not perform prayer. Okay, and then if a person is insane until he becomes sane, there is no responsibility on him, and also on a minor. So this is the basis of actually of these three situations where a person having active legal capacity, they will lose their legal capacity. So they will not have obligation, and also at the same time they also cannot conduct any financial dealings. Okay, another one is a partial insanity. Okay, partial insanity is a person who is not insane fully. Okay, sometimes he talks like he's a mature sane person. Okay, and normal person, while others like sometimes he likes a insane person. So this is a stage. This person, he behaves usually normally. Okay, he behaves normally, but sometimes, okay, sometimes it happens. Sometimes during the PhD studies, okay, some of the PhD candidates, when they focus too much on their subject matter, they can sometimes talk something that not we like nonsense. Sometimes also maybe it's okay, may Allah protect us. Sometimes some of our lecturers or professors, sometimes they talk like, oh, he's talking nonsense. So it sometimes, to some people, it may have, okay, but when it is pervasive, means which is quite common to a person, that sometimes he's talking incense. So this person is called Atah, okay, in Arabic. So this is a we call partial insanity. So this person is considered same like sabi mumayyiz, or uh, is a boy that has some discretion. So means that he will be under a guardianship, and uh, so any kind of transaction that he does, it will be subject to the ratification of the guardian. And then forgetfulness, this is very important for transaction. Okay, so for what is forgetfulness? A circumstance that befalls a man without his volition, without his willingness. Okay, without his the power of his willingness, causing loss of remembrance of something. So somebody without his willingness unintentionally forgot something. Okay, so is forgetfulness can be okay, can be a reason, okay, for a contract to be invalid. Means that, okay, to make it easy, somebody has bought something. Okay, let's say I bought a handphone from a shop, okay, with 500 ringgit, and then after 2 hours I come back, I say, oh, sorry, I forgot. Actually, I should not buy this handphone. I'm prohibited to use handphone, so I forgot I forgot this, so I cannot. So is it allowed in the Sharia? So majority of the scholars said yes. Okay, forgetfulness can be an excuse, and the contract will be invalid. Means somebody executed a contract, okay, and he forgot that he should not do it. Okay, so majority of the scholars said yes, it is accepted. However, the Hanafi scholars, they look deep into it, okay, and they say that we cannot accept forgetfulness as an excuse for financial dealings. Yes, if somebody forgets about prayer for religious affairs, it can be accepted. So he will not, if somebody forgets to pray, he will not be sinful. However, in financial dealings, okay, we cannot accept somebody, comes and he said, oh, he forgot. So go. Let's see this example. Okay, I bought an handphone. Okay, after 2 hours, I go back to that shop and I said, uh, sorry, I forgot that I should not buy this handphone because I cannot use this handphone. I already have another handphone, so I don't need it. I forgot actually. So if I say this, so what will happen? Okay, people will. The first thing is the security of the contract or sanctity of a contract will be lost. Okay, that people will take contracts easily. Okay, people just can come and say I forgot. Okay, and also to stop false defense. Okay, like somebody bought something, and then after some time maybe the price of the thing went down, okay, or he maybe doesn't like, or maybe the thing is broken, for example, and then he said he forgot. So it will actually lead to dispute. It will destroy the sanctity of the contract. People will just play around with the contract. So considering this, the Hanafi scholars said forgetfulness is not accepted. Okay, and I also believe this is should be the most preferred opinion considering the situation today. Okay, and then weakness of intellect. So this is very important for financial dealings. It's called Safah. Okay, so Safah is or we call Safih. Okay, that Allah Quran said in the Quran, "Wala tu'tu sufaha'a amwalakum." That do not give the sufaha, those who have weakness of intellect, don't give your wealth to them. Okay, so it is prohibited in the Surah An-Nisa. So if so, who is Safih, or who has Safa? Okay, Safa is a situation. Okay, if somebody, okay, he uh, he does not know the prudent usage of wealth. If you give him 1 million today, in 2 hours he will finish the 1 million just buying some tickets. Okay, to play lottery, for example, or to play video games. So it's like the person does not know the prudential usage of wealth. Okay, there are some people, they if they are matured, but they don't know the proper usage of their money. If they get money, they'll go and spend within nights. Okay, so a person's financial activities run contrary to the guideline of Sharia and reason. So there are some scholars said if the person, okay, he gets a lot of money and then he just spend in a non Sharia activities, like he just spend for gambling, he just gets for to go to disco, for example. Okay, and also reason means he just spend and we destroy, just throw the money. Okay, or if somebody comes to him and ask for money, he just give a very big amount without any reason. Okay, so that is called safi, is the opposite of rushd, which is maturity of actions in financial dealings. So this person didn't reach the rushd. Rushd actually a very broad term. Okay, so this rushd means somebody is matured enough, prudent enough to do their financial dealings. Okay, so what is the, if a person is proven as a safah? Okay, so he's not allowed to interfere with his property. So he will be put under a guardian, and then the guardian will handle his financial affairs. But according to Imam Abu Hanifa, until 25 years, we should consider him as a safi. But after 25 years, just give the wealth to him and let him do whatever he wants. However, the majority of the scholars say no. Until the end of his life, if he is Safi, he will be under a guardian. It doesn't matter what age he reaches. Okay. However, the situation of Safah, okay, should be proven by court. Okay, if a person is Safi or not should be checked by the doctors, and it should be proven by court. When there is a court order and the person is put under guardian, okay, then his guardian will do the transaction. If before the court order, all those contracts will be like suspended. Okay, it will be suspended and will be subject to the rectification of the guardian. Okay, now there is another important factor which is called death illness. Okay, of course, illness it has nothing to do with this, but the illness before death, okay, is a kind of illness. The person is certain that he is going to die. Well, in fiqh they call maradul maut. Okay, the illness almost just before the death. So if a person okay, when has a logical apprehension of imminent death, the person he understand, okay, that he is going to die. Somebody is got a major operation and then the doctor found out, okay, or somebody like got cancer, okay, or brain tumor, or lung failure, kidney failure. So he's already almost sure that he's going to die, or heavy somebody is reached the age, okay, that he can feel that he will not live longer. So at that time, there are some actions, okay, that will have some limitation. For example, divorce. So if a person he's sick, at his sick bed, if he divorces his wife, the divorce will be executed, but the wife will still get the mirath or inheritance, because with this the person may be trying to deprive his wife from inheritance. So any divorce during the time just before in during the sickness, okay, just before death, the divorce will be executed, but the wife will get inheritance. Okay, making a bequest or donation or gift. So if a person gives any gifts or donation or makes a will, okay, it will be implemented with the condition that is not more than one third of his wealth. So if a person makes any gift or donation just before his death, okay, in the sick bed, so we need to check whether that donation or gift is more than one third of his property or not. If it is more than one third, it will be taken back. Okay, because the gift at the time of death is considered actually wasiyah or bequest. Okay, in giving a gift to one of his heirs, because there is a hadith la wasiyata li warithin. So a person cannot make wasiyah or bequest to the heirs, because they will get wealth through the miras. So there is no need to give some of the inheritors some extra gift. So it will lead to dispute among the heirs. So it is prohibited. Number four is selling his property without a fair price. Sometimes there are people, they know they cannot give more than one third, so what they do is they just use a fake transaction, like they sell their land to somebody he loves, okay, with just 1 ringgit, for example, or 2 ringgit, just just to avoid this one third of bequest. Okay, so it will be also taken into consideration. If somebody sells a property without or under the fair market price, just a token price, so it will be also considered as a gift, and will be again checked whether it is more than one third of his property or not. And then selling his property while he has a debt. And at this time, okay, at the sick bed, if he has debt, okay, and if he sells, his sales will not be executed. Okay, the wealth will be taken back because he has his bad debt. Because there are some people, when they know they are going to die, in order to save their wealth, in order to deceive the creditors, they just sell their wealth, which is injustice, and which is a deception, which is not allowed in the Sharia. Therefore, the sale contracts will not be executed if they have debt and their wealth is not enough to cover that debt. Okay, intoxication. This is a drinking alcohol or any kind of drinks or any item or any food stuff. Okay, the person he loses his mind. Okay, he becomes insane. So that is the state of intoxication. So there are two ways it can happen. One is voluntarily, another one is involuntarily. Okay, so if involuntarily, contracts are not valid according to the okay, if voluntarily, okay, contracts are not valid, and he does not have any obligation of like prayers and others. However, if it is a voluntary intoxication, the person he himself drinks alcohol with his willingness, okay, then the contracts are valid by the majority of the scholars. Means that if a person he drinks alcohol, he lost his mind, and if he divorces his wife, the divorce will be concluded. If he buys something or if he sells something, it will be concluded. It is valid in the Sharia, because this is a punishment for him. Okay, if somebody drinks alcohol, after that he sold his handphone with only 10 ringgit, but the market price, let's say, is 2,000. But he was drunk, and then he needed money. He just sold his handphone with only, let's say, 10 ringgit. Okay, so after his intoxication is gone, if he comes back and he said, "Oh, I was I was, drunk," so it is not accepted. Okay, according to the majority of the scholars. However, according to the Hanbali scholars, they said no, it is accepted. Okay, so all of his financial dealings also not valid. Okay, because we can punish the person because he drinks something haram, but we cannot punish him more than what he is actually liable for. Means that he drinks alcohol. Okay, so it is his sin, and we can punish him for that sin. However, if we say his contracts are valid, so we actually punish him more than whatever he is liable. Okay, it's like we burden him more than what he is capable of. So if he divorces his wife, it's not accepted, and if he concludes the contract, then it is not accepted. And in my opinion, and I think most of the contemporary scholars, they also prefer the Hanbali jurists. Okay, so according to them, if a person drinks alcohol voluntarily and he conducts any contract, so he can invalidate it, cancel it when he is sane after the intoxication is gone. Another one is bankruptcy. Yes, what is bankruptcy or muflis? Okay, when somebody has a debt and his debt is equal or greater than his property, what he has right now. Okay, so at that time he's restricted from disposing of his property to protect his creditors. So in order to protect the welfare of the creditors, he will be restricted. He will not be allowed to sell his property or give his property as a gift to anyone else. And we can see this based on the story of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, he sold off the wealth of Muaz radiallahu ta'ala anhu to cover his debt. Okay, so the another one is coercion, force. Somebody is forced, for example, to do an action. Somebody is forced to get married. Somebody is forced to buy or sell something. Okay. However, in order the force, the Sharia has a definition. Force means there is a threat of his life or a severe damage of his body, like chopping off the hand or damaging the eyes. Okay, so that is called force. Okay, there is a threat of a life, threat of damaging, okay, severe injury to his body, or um, uh, or he is, let's say, captivated, put in a room, okay, or jail, or in a jail, something. So that is called coercion or force, or in Arabic it is called ikrah. So according to the majority of the scholars say all the contracts are invalid. So if somebody has done a contract by force, so this contract is not valid. But according to the Hanafi scholars, as we have learned, it is voidable. So after the force is gone, then the person can, if he feels that he still want to continue the contract, he can continue, except for marriage, divorce, and manumission. Okay, marriage and divorce and manumission is freeing the slave or releasing the slave. So these three are, as we know in the hadith, they are different contracts. We cannot play around. So other than these three contracts, let's say somebody is forced to he was forced to buy to sell his laptop. Okay, okay, his friend, okay, force him, okay, sell your laptop with 2000 ringgit to me, okay, right now. If not, I'll shoot you, for example. So he immediately sold his laptop with 2000. And then after that, when the matter is brought to the court, okay, and his friend is captivated by police, and then he will be asked, so do you want to continue this transaction or you want to cancel it? And if he says, okay, I'm satisfied with this transaction, 2000 ringgit is enough for me to do this transaction, so the contract will be concluded. That's according to the Hanafi scholars. And I think most of the contemporary scholars preferred this opinion. Okay, so all those we discussed about the situation that was a barrier to legal capacity. And then remember we talk about the guardianship or wilayah, okay? So the first to do any transaction, first we need to have legal capacity, and second we need to have is called al-Wilayah, which is guardianship. Okay, so what is this guardianship? Is an authority granted to a person to conduct dealings for another or for himself. Okay, so it can be divided into two. First is to the self. Okay, what is the guardianship to self? Okay, sometimes for example, those who are minors, okay, they don't have the guardianship, or somebody needs to be the owner of an asset to sell. Okay, and then the second one is the guardianship to another. Okay, so how is it? These are the examples. Sometimes it can be voluntarily, like wakala. Let's say I make someone as my wakil to conduct certain transaction, like to sell something, an asset. Or if I make wasiyah, okay, if I make a will, okay, I ask him, okay, after my death, someone else, okay, after my death, you will execute these contracts, you'll distribute the farais, for example. And the another one is non-voluntary. One is the private guardianship. Okay, so this is very important, like the father's guardianship on son. Okay, for and then father's guardianship on daughter for marriage, for example. And then another one is public guardianship, acting on behalf of the judge. If somebody does not have any guardian, okay, if a girl, he does not have any wali, any guardian, so the judge will be his wali. Or if somebody is safi, for example, and he does not have anybody to be his guardian, then the judge will be his guardian. Okay, so that's all what we have talked about today. So again, the two important things are important for a person to conduct a contract. Okay, he must have the legal capacity, and also he has the guardianship. And the legal capacity has two. One is the receptive legal capacity, another which is based on life, and another one is the active legal capacity, which is actually based on the intellectual maturity. Okay, so with that, I thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.